Welcome everyone to episode 3 of Studio Ghibli Summer. And this is gonna be a difficult one to get through.
Yeah.
I'm of course joined by Oddboy,
Yeah.
and today we're gonna be talking about the, I guess you could technically say, third Studio Ghibli movie, depending on who you're talking to. We are going to be talking about Grave of the Fireflies, released in 1988, and was I don't even know how to fucking follow this up. It was released as a double feature along with My Neighbor Totoro, which we'll be covering next time. But this was, I guess you could say, the more critically acclaimed movie out of all of them. And boy, was it I don't even know like how to even like respond to this. I'm just gonna say this up front. It's not a bad movie. Not by a fucking mile. Because I know there's gonna be a lot worse Studio Ghibli movies after this. In fact, it's honestly like a great movie. I'm just gonna say this like honestly right up front, because I know that people like could, just judge by someone's, facial expressions or by their mood after watching something. They'd be like, oh, they think it's terrible. I don't think that Grave of the Fireflies is terrible. In fact, I actually think it's a really good movie. But for people who have seen it, then you know what I'm about to talk about. This movie is fucking depressing.
It's sad as shit, man. And for I guess, depending on who you ask, for this third Studio Ghibli movie, going from Nausicaa and Castle in the Sky, this just took a really dark turn, man.
Yeah. It's crazy to think that 2 years after Castle in the Sky, and the same year as My Neighbor Totoro, some of the most uplifting anime movies I've ever seen in my life, you get this one slapped in the middle, which makes you feel like you're going through like an actual depression, and it fucking sucks. But I mean, we still gotta do it, obviously, because we're covering every single one. And while I personally may not like to do it, even though I actually love the movie, I still gotta go through it. So here we go.
Yeah, we just watched it, so that doesn't help.
Yeah, so we're still trying to recover from it. So this was obviously for money purpose, or for the money talk in this, for all these reviews, we're basically converting these to American dollars, so the money range could be a little bit iffy, so just don't judge us for that.
Yeah, this is just our best estimate.
Yeah. But the budget for Grave of the Fireflies was about 3.7 American dollars. Domestically, it made, or in Japan, it made about around 5 million USD, and worldwide, it made about 12 million. So it did, as per usual, pretty good for a Studio Ghibli movie. It made like triple, or actually no, quadruple its budget back, and the reviews on it were pretty much great.
Yeah, it's got like 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, which kind of did surprise me. But then actually looking at the reviews, it kind of made me understand why. And most of them, I think you said, were basically just praising how historically accurate this is, because we're obviously about to get into it. But for anyone who doesn't know, this movie is basically set around World War II.
Now, when I first heard that, I was like, okay, this is my kind of movie, because I'm not sure how many of you people know, but if you personally know me, then you know that I love history, especially World War II. So I thought I was gonna get into a great movie, and it is, but fucking Christ. It's basically, this movie is just like a Japanese perspective of the war. It's like like a normal Japanese citizen during the war.
Yeah. This was directed by Isa Takahata, who has gone on to actually do a number of other Studio Ghibli movies, some of which I'm actually kind of concerned about watching. But I mean, grandly, for a first-time director, Well, I don't know if it's a first time director, but for his first Studio Ghibli movie, I think he did a fantastic job.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he definitely uh made you believe that this was set during the war. We'll get to that part later, but why it feels so accurate to it. But yeah. So the story for Grave of the Fireflies is a devastating meditation on the human cost of war. This animated tale follows Seta, played by Adam Gibbs in the American version, a teenager charged with the care of his younger sister, Setsuko, played by Emily Neves in the American version, after an American firebombing during World War II separates the two children from their parents. Their tale of survival is as heartbreaking as it is true to life. The siblings relay.
No,
Wait.
rely. It's rely.
Oh, it was relay. I'm a fucking idiot. The siblings rely completely on each other and struggle against all odds to stay together and stay alive. Oh my god.
I bet just that summary alone can already tell you where this movie is heading.
So I don't know if it's luckily, because it's kind of sad. There's only a very small amount of main characters in this movie, which I guess allows us to kind of delve more into the aspects of the movie itself. But we have Seta, played by Adam Gibbs. Now, I haven't really heard of Adam Gibbs before watching this movie, so I was kind of a bit I'm not weirded out, but I was just a bit like, who is this guy? But he does do a fantastic job as our main lead in the film, and yeah, you really do feel for his character and everything that goes on around him, including the stuff that happens to his little sister, Setsuko, played by Emily Neves. They both are pretty much just like our two main leads in the previous film, except that instead of being kind of strangers, being, I guess, not really forced, but kind of like just happenstance met each other. They're brother and sister. So I think the bond initially is much more strong because Seta, I believe you said he's supposed to be 14 years old.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah, and what's his face? Setsuko, I think she's only supposed to be like barely 5.
I'll look up the age, but I wouldn't be surprised if she's around that age.
But like, she's a very small child, and
oh shit, she's 4.
Okay, so I was close, but yeah, a 14-year-old and a 4-year-old having to survive pretty much by themselves throughout how long do you think the time span of this movie is? Like a week or like a few weeks at least? Because I know it's definitely at least a few days.
Yeah, I'd probably say about like a few weeks, because like yeah, it's like just so much happening and like a lot of I guess time lapses or something.
Yeah. A lot of montages as well. So but yeah, you really do feel for both of them. Like I said, kind of like in the same way that you feel for Sheeta and what's the kid's name in Castle in the Sky, the boy?
Pazu?
Pazu, yeah. It's basically kind of like that, but like I said, instead of like kind of like, I guess you could technically say like boyfriend and girlfriend, it's brother and sister. So you kind of feel a little bit more towards them, and especially the age. Whereas, you know, in Castle in the Sky, they're both characters were basically around the same age. These ones are significantly far apart in their age. So you feel
10-year gap.
Yeah, a 10-year gap. So you feel a lot more for them.
Yeah.
I mean, we I don't know if I really want to go into the movie point by point because it's just so fucking sad. I'm probably just gonna have an emotional breakdown if I do. But I mean, I guess if you don't know how dark this movie is, obviously the spoiler card would have played already. But we start the movie off with our main character dying.
Yeah.
And basically, you see him kind of like in this. You see him like basically in this train station, kind of just mourning the loss of everything. Like him mourning the fact that he lost pretty much everything, and he collapses on the floor and he dies, giving out his last breath in this train station. And then we see him kind of get resurrected as a ghost along with his little sister. And then the movie actually plays out. Basically, kind of like in a flashback. It's basically like a flashback movie where we see like the events that led up to Seta's death. And we every once in a while we get like shots of what's his face both Seta and Setsuko kind of like in this like red orangish like glow to kind of signify that like, okay, yeah, these versions of them are them in the afterlife, whereas the ones we actually see throughout the movie in like the normal colors are supposed to be them in the past when like everything is going on. So yeah, and you you really feel for it because the mother, played by Shelley Callan Black, I think that's how you say it. You only get introduced to her at the beginning, and then you hear about her every once in a while, and then you get introduced to her corpse.
Yeah.
And they explain that she got caught up in one of the attacks early on in the movie, and she her whole body is burned, and she eventually passes away. So they have to go and live with her aunt, played by Marcy Barno, I think.
Banner
Oh, no,
or something? Marcy
Banner. I think, yeah, Banner, I would say. And at first she seems like, you're a nice mother.
But holy yeah.
Not like a nice mother, but like, like a nice family figure that they be around to kind of like comfort you in your time of stress.
Yeah, at first.
But then she does a fucking 180 and just turns into a complete bitch.
Yeah, and like she's just scolding of like how like, Seda and Setsuko are like disgraced because they're not doing anything to help with the war, and they're just asking for food, and it's like, bitch. It's like the mother died. It's like, and you know what's crazy? It's like there was
the mother died. They don't know where their father is. And all they know is that he's in the army.
Yeah, and
trust me, we'll get to him later.
And they also lost their home.
Yeah, and their home. So you expect them to, after all that shit just happened, just go and start doing work for you?
Yeah, and there's
no, they need time to fucking recover.
Yeah, like
but she doesn't listen and just tries to like kind of get on their tries.
Yeah.
Keyword tries to get on their good side, and it doesn't work out, and they eventually move out and live into, I think they go to like, I guess like a little cave, I guess you can call it.
Yeah, it's like some little shelter place on like the mountainside.
So yeah, and then that's basically where the rest of the movie takes place. I think that's like at like the hour mark, I think.
Yeah.
Or at least around there. So yeah, the rest of the movie takes place in these little shelters that they live in, and you see as, the movie goes on that Setsuko's condition is getting worse with a lot more rashes and like basically what I guess you could really define as skin cancer really kind of growing on her body. Obviously, if we can show images, we will gladly show them. But it just keeps on getting worse and worse. I think even at one point they mentioned that she's having like diarrhea, and it's just like, fuck, man, a 4-year-old at that age suffering through this, it's got to be the most traumatic fucking experience that you have to go through. And of course, by the end of the movie, she succumbs to the bacteria on her body, and she does pass away, leaving Seta pretty much all by himself. He has no mother, no father as well, because right before Setsuka dies, he figures out that his father got killed during the one of the battles, and they were putting their bodies at sea. So yeah, no mother, no father, and now his little sister just died as well. So he pretty much has nothing, and plus he's not going to go back to the aunt because she's a bitch.
Yeah, fuck that.
And so yeah, he's pretty much got nothing. So yeah, you don't see it again, but obviously you can tell where this is going. He goes to the train station and basically just sits there until he starves. And we end on what is admittedly a beautiful shot of them at the park bench or at this little bench area looking over the new city of Japan. And holy fuck, was it just like, obviously we can't really go into too much detail because I feel like if we did, we would just be in so much emotional straught that we would not be able to upload for a few days. And plus, we actually do need the break anyway. So
just like a small break to recover from this, because
yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, do we really want to go into favorite scenes? I don't. There's not really much.
There's
that
not
we
really
can say about it.
Yeah, I don't even really would even call them favorite scenes, because like for most of the movie, you're just kind of like feeling really bad for the characters.
I think the only memorable moment that I can remember of any sort of levity in the film is when they go to the beach.
Yeah,
and
you can see them having a good
time. The only part that they're actually having fun in until they find another corpse.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, until that point, it was like basically the one part in the movie that they actually had like true fun in, because it actually looks the most like a normal fucking location. But like, yeah, it's again, we're not saying that this is a bad movie at all. In fact, it's a great movie.
It's great. It's
just, I do at least recommend it. Everyone watch it at least once in their life to kind of understand like what this movie's about. But do prepare yourselves to be emotionally fucking distraught, because holy shit.
Like, you are gonna get like tagged onto this so hard. And it's a great movie. It really is. But it's almost impossible to rewatch, because like you just feel so bad for the characters that you almost start to feel miserable watching it. And Russell, while we were watching it, he almost just wanted to just stop watching it.
But yeah, because I think it was like around like the halfway point that it just got so emotional that I was like, I can't do this anymore. Not the whole Studio Ghibli Summer thing, because I still was planning on continuing that, but I could not handle the movie anymore, and I was just like, I just want to stop it and just look up a summary and just fucking just go through it from there, because I didn't want to suffer anymore, just emotional suffering. But I pressed forward, and we did obviously make it through. But yeah, I just say, just be prepared to just be like emotionally gut punch so many times throughout the movie that like you at least need like a full, if anything, at least a full week to recover.
Yeah.
Because some of the shit, like I said, some of the shit that you see in this movie is it's horrifying.
Yeah.
I think there's even one point, obviously we can't really play the clip because Studio Ghibli would be on our asses if we played any clips from the movies. But there's one point like very early on where you hear like a baby screaming, and then you cut to this burning house where everyone's just in emotional distraught, and you just hear the baby crying as the building is burning down. I'm like, fuck, man, they had the balls to put a baby crying over a flaming building. That only gives you one mental thought, and it's, oh my god. It's just like, ugh. I have never, in the history of the movie reviews I've done for the channel, I've never felt so sad when watching a movie ever. Like, I have not gotten this emotional that I just wanted to stop the movie. I wanted to stop the movie at terrible movies like Batman and Robin. Ugh. But like, this was like, I think this was the first time ever where I wanted to stop a movie emotionally, where I just could not take it anymore. And yeah, like we say numerous times throughout this review, if you do plan on watching this movie, which I do highly recommend, and I'm pretty sure Franco does too, just prepare yourself, because it is an emotional ride from start to finish that you must mentally prepare for what is to come, because we did not really prepare. And look where we're at right now. We can barely talk about it without even just getting mental images of it, and it's horrifying.
Like, I remember hearing from others that this was a very sad movie, so I was kind of expecting it, but I didn't expect it to be like this sad.
But yeah. I mean, I think you already said that you can't really pick a favorite scene in this movie, because it's kind of just...
Yeah, there's almost no favorite scenes. It's just like almost the whole... well, besides the beach scene, which is like probably the most, I guess... It's like that scene that just kind of like, I don't know, just kind of lets loose on like the whole emotional stress while watching.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's like the rest of the movie is just super sad to watch.
Yeah, definitely. I can pretty much agree with you on that. So now we're gonna be going over the fun facts.
I think we should just say facts, because this whole movie.
Facts.
Yeah, just facts. Fun facts is like for pretty much everything else.
Well, I mean, I guess if you want to learn the history of this movie, then yeah, they are technically fun facts, but whatever. But yeah, first off, the film was actually postponed for release in South Korea. Apparently indefinitely, because of the concern that the movie somewhat justified Japan's role in World War II.
And, just in case some of you people don't know your history, Japan annexed Korea, and they were under Japan's control for decades. So, maybe they just wanted to postpone it because, any survivors, because this was 1988. The war ended in 1945. So maybe they just didn't want to, like, give anyone PTSD from, like, didn't want to give any South Koreans PTSD from, like, being under the Japanese control.
And you also got to take into account that, I know this may be very off topic, but I mean, this kind of goes with the subject, that even almost 10 years later, one of the most famous Japanese monster movies came out, and basically glorified the fact of, like, yeah, we survived World War II, and this is the shit that happened. Of course, if you guys are monster fans, you guys already know I'm talking about the very first Godzilla film. But yeah, that goes for basically the same kind of setting or feeling as this, where it's like, it's very bleak and depressing, and it's very serious, and it does not try to glorify, like, oh yeah, this is what happened. It's like, no, this shit actually happened, and we're gonna tell you how it happened. And it's...
You could say this is based on a true story at this point.
Yeah, especially with the fact of what's coming up next.
Yeah.
But yeah, our second fun fact is the director, Isao Takahata, basically survived World War II. So yeah, Takahata was the only living animator involved on the project who actually did survive the bomb blast all the way back in World War II. And I think he quotes that having survived he quotes that basically after surviving a devastating U.S. air raid on his hometown in World War II, film director Isao Takahata has first-hand experience of the horrors of the war.
And holy shit, does he show it? Like,
I think it's definitely like, I could be totally wrong about this, but it could be like a same situation as we discussed in Nausicaa, where he was basically just like, oh, you're doing a movie about World War II? Yeah, I'm not letting anyone else do this unless it's me. So, yeah.
So,
which, I mean, hey, credit to him. If he's able to go through this, without, like, I'm pretty sure he had to go for like so much torment, like basically reliving all of this.
Yeah.
So props to him. And third off, technically this movie wouldn't have been made at all if it wasn't for Totoro being... actually, no. My Neighbor Totoro couldn't have been made unless this movie... if this movie didn't get put into production, My Neighbor Totoro wouldn't have existed at all. Basically, Miyazaki was trying to make a movie about this Totoro series, but his initial pitch was basically shot down and like wasn't picked up. Then when Miyazaki heard that there was this other movie going on, called Grave of the Fireflies, he was able to negotiate a deal, basically saying, "All right, if you guys are going to, you guys are going to make Totoro, or if you guys are going to make Grave of the Fireflies, you're also going to make My Neighbor Totoro." And they reluctantly agreed, and basically, it surprises to me that I think both My Neighbor Totoro and Grave of the Fireflies were both based on books. For this one is obviously based on the book Grave, and I think Totoro was based off of a manga series as well. I could be totally wrong about that though. It often was overlooked as well. The film was also overlooked often because whenever Totoro was screened first, people were left happy and did not wish to be saddened by Grave of the Fireflies afterwards, which is pretty much understandable, really. So I mean, do you want to add anything else, Abu, before we get on to final ratings?
Well, I was going to mention how, this being a double feature, yeah, they were both released on the same day, and this is kind of where the whole debate of like people who list off the movies in chronological order is like where the whole debate is like, does Grave come first or does Totoro come first? Which honestly is kind of stupid because like just do however you want. But personally for us, uh, we just went with Grave first because that's what most of the articles I saw had it on.
Yeah, and
I was like, fuck it. I was like, fuck it.
yeah, I think also with the fact that that Totoro wouldn't have been made if it wasn't for the fact that Grave of the Fireflies was made. I think that kind of gives it kind of the benefit of the doubt that basically says like, okay, let's do Grave of the Fireflies first and then go into My Neighbor Totoro. Even though technically, this fact also says that Totoro was screened first. Like whenever it was screened in Japan because it was obviously a double feature. So it would go from My Neighbor Totoro to Grave of the Fireflies. So do however you want. So, but I think for this, obviously, we're doing Fireflies first, and then we're gonna go into My Neighbor Totoro next time. One more thing, actually, I should mention before we move on to our end thoughts is the soundtrack. I think this is the first Studio Ghibli movie to use a full orchestral score and not have any sort of synth. I think there's only one track that wasn't orchestral, but it was a previously released song that we hear on a record player at near the end of the movie when it's showing kind of like flashes of like Setsuko after she has passed. So, but besides that, I think the majority of the score is orchestral, and it fucking works for this movie. It definitely does bring home the points of like if like this was a fucked up time in just human history, and the score does absolutely cement that.
It definitely makes the scenes a lot more sadder.
Yeah, like if there wasn't any music at all, it would definitely be sad. But the music added on top of that, it's just
so much, man.
it hits. Yeah. So Franco, final thoughts of Grave of the Fireflies.
Great movie for sure, but you're gonna need a while to recover. And I wouldn't. This is like one of those movies where like you can't rewatch it often. You need like at least a couple years to rewatch it because like Jesus Christ, man, I was not expecting that much emotional distress. Like watching this, that was just crazy.
Mm-hmm. So what would you give this? What would you rank this, or what would you give the film?
I would give it an A minus. It's really good, but it's just really hard to watch without feeling so bad for the characters. But that's also what makes it good is that you can actually. This is probably the first Studio Ghibli movie where I actually started to feel for the characters. Like, Ponyo, I just found the characters relatable. It's like, oh yeah, that's relatable. This is like, I actually feel for them. It's like, oh shit, man. Like, the way they deliver it is so well done.
But yeah, because I was about to say, you didn't feel for the characters in Castle of the Sky?
I felt for them, because I'm not sure how to describe it. Like, I find them relatable, you know, because we've got, you both like they're supposed to be preteens or mid-teens depending on which version you see, and we've experienced that, so we're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like, I totally get you. This, however, like,
Yeah.
it's just so much, man. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you really feel bad for these characters, and yeah, I think an A minus is completely fair because
Mm-hmm.
really well done, but it's just so much emotional stuff, and it's really hard to rewatch.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah, this was a difficult one to rank, to give a rating for because I didn't know whether or not to give it like a high rating because of how good the movie was, or give it like a low rating because of how fucking emotional it was. And I eventually decided just to give it an A minus as well because overall, like, while it is fucking emotional like a bitch, it is a very, very good movie. And I do have to give them credit for that. They made an absolutely fantastic, accurate movie. Uh that yeah, maybe emotional, but it makes you you feel motivated with the characters and you feel for their situation. And it feels real because it technically was. It came from a person who did fucking survive this sort of shit. And to have, you know, like a tone where basically it is nothing but straight up moodiness throughout, except for like every like one or two scenes where it's like occasional happies. I gotta give them credit. Most of the time, you cannot do that, but they fucking pulled it off. And like, this is honestly just gives me so much more respect for Studio Ghibli as a whole because you could easily say that one of their movies is great or like a couple of films that they did is great, but it really takes someone to go and look at like what they consider to be the most emotional and heart like pounding one out of all of them and go, no, this is fucking cinema. And I mean, there's really nothing else to say about it. It's a fantastic movie, but goddamn, is it emotional. And I do highly, I wouldn't say warn, but I do caution people if you do plan on watching this movie, either mentally prepare yourself or bring a whole box of Kleenex because you will probably be crying throughout, just like we almost did.
Yeah.
And like yeah, even though it does pain me to say that like I won't be coming back to this that often because it is a great movie, but like I don't want to go for that emotional trial anymore. But that being said, I am glad that I I got to watch it at least once because that it was an experience for me, and it shows that it basically told me that Studio Ghibli is not just a family friendly kind of, or like not family friendly but like a movie or like a company made for mostly kids. Like they can go fucking dark sometimes and they are not afraid of doing it. So yeah. But yeah, anyway, guys, that's gonna be it for our review of Grave of the Fireflies. Um, as we keep on saying throughout this, just be careful when watching this because you will be emotionally fucking distraught throughout. And I, I would just say I'm giving you that fair warning. Um, obviously, you know, the usual stuff. Go and check out Alboy's channel because he great gaming content. Check out my socials. Down in the description below, as well as my letterbox and Discord. Um, And, obviously make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell icon to get notified when future videos are coming out just like this. And obviously, I mean, we kind of mentioned it before, so what's the point of like hyping it up? But next time we will be reviewing My Neighbor Totoro, released in the same year and on the same day in 1988. And we'll see you guys later. Live long and prosper. Out.
See ya.